Please note that the information on Retire Vivid referenced in this video is accurate as of August 24th, 2024. Changes to laws and regulations may make portions of this segment outdated and no longer relevant. Information presented is for educational purposes only and is not intended to provide investment, tax, or legal advice. Please see our full disclosure at the end of this video.
Well, thank you.
Chair the president.
Well, the bill creates a three-tiered system of benefits for employees. Social Security provides the base, a defined benefit plan provides additional retirement income, and a tax-deferred savings plan allows employees with matching money from the government to save toward their own retirements. And this bill is a sound outcome to a difficult undertaking, and it's fair to both taxpayers and employees.
The Federal Employee Retirement System currently provides retirement benefits to more than 2.8 million United States civilian employees. Prior to this, the first federal retirement system began in 1920 as the Civil Service Retirement Act for certain federal employees. The initial program was intended to provide benefits comparable to those in the private sector. However, when the Social Security Administration was established in 1935, federal employees were no longer eligible for Social Security benefits because of the annuity they received under the program. President Reagan signed into law the Federal Employees Retirement Act on June 5, 1986. The new retirement system was created to replace the Civil Service Retirement Act of 1920 and to help align federal retirement benefits with those in the private sector. The FERS retirement system is made up of three major parts: a basic benefit plan or annuity, Social Security, and a thrift savings plan. These three components work together to help give federal employees a strong financial foundation for their retirement years. But understanding your federal benefits can feel confusing for even the most informed individual, so you may not realize everything that is available to you while you're employed or what retirement benefits will go with you when you retire. Having a strong knowledge of the basics of your retirement system can help you make a more informed choice to help suit your overall needs in retirement.
Welcome to Retire Vivid. I'm McCarty. That's Tommy Breitbach, and today is a special edition. We are talking to federal employees, specifically the Federal Employee Retirement System, or what you all would know it as FERS. Tommy, this is one of the best, in my opinion, one of the best retirement systems out there when it comes to retirement with all the things that these folks get.
They really get a lot of offerings from, income to investment options, health benefits. But, we work with a number of clients that have come out of the federal system, and usually those meetings have come with more questions than answers when they get there. So hopefully we can clear a few things up today.
That's exactly right. Because, think about it, Tommy. Just like any workplace, when you get hired for a job, right? Sign here, sign here, sign here. Who's your beneficiaries? Go to work, right? But what are you working for? What are you working for? And I tell you, with what we're going to talk about today, the FERS retirement system. Now, real quick, we're talking to FERS. There's also one that was prior, which is the CSRS, which is the Civil Service Retirement System. We're only going to do FERS today. But the FERS, what they do is they get a three-part retirement system, right? So when I'm talking about when you first enter the workforce, what does the end look like in terms when you leave your career? So they get a three-part retirement system. They're going to get a FERS annuity. We know it as a pension, but OPM, they call it an annuity. They also get Social Security, and they also have a TSP.
Three great income options. It tends to be the federal employees we work with, have income needs met between those three options.
Absolutely. And then they also have the FEHB, which is the Federal Employee Health Benefit Program. They got FEGLI, which is the life insurance program. They got FedVIP. I mean, I should have been a federal employee.
It's a great system.
It's a great system.
We're excited to get into it.
I'm excited to get through it. So Tommy, let's do this. Let's work our way down this three-tier retirement system, and let's first start out with the FERS annuity. So let's go through this real quick, because one of the big questions people are going to say, okay, Cam, when do I retire? But the first question I have is, when did you start your years of service or your service computation date? So Tommy, walk us through real quick in terms of for FERS, the age and the years of service where we can retire with a full benefit.
Yeah, so the age you're eligible to retire depends on years of service. So those who have 30 years of service plus, or 30 plus, have a minimum retirement age that ranges from 55 to 57.
Yep.
Those who have 20 years of service, retirement age at 60. And those with 5 or more, retirement age at 62.
So folks, I mean, a lot of you may know this already, but that's so important. You got to look at your age. You got to also look at the years of service. And we'll also talk about sick time here in a minute. But Tommy, let's talk about credible service. Let's talk about credible service, because OPM, or the Office of Personnel Management, what they do is they count years in months. They don't count days.
It is very true. If you don't use it, you will lose it.
That's right. So what do we want you to do? Use it. So let's give an example here. Did you want to walk them through this one?
Yeah, so an individual has civilian service there, maybe 30 years, 8 months, 16 days.
Okay.
Military service, 4 years. Sick leave, 1 year, 4 months, 23 days. Adding those all together, they end up with 36 years, 1 month, and 9 days. And so that 9 days is the key part there.
That's the key part. And so again, we don't want people just using it for the sake. I mean, especially when you're getting closer to retirement, that can also be a good transition to retirement. It can prepare you for things. You can get your physicals done. There's a lot of things you can do during those days. Now, if those days, and we'll talk about this here in a minute, but if those days are up higher, maybe work a little longer to get that extra month, because you get to apply those years and months towards your years of service.
Yeah, it's a great benefit.
Huge benefit. So, okay, now we just talked about when we can retire. Now let's talk about when's the best time to retire. So Tommy, real quick, I'll go through CSRS, because again, we're mainly talking FERS, like I mentioned, but sometimes people get, a little confused on this, because it really depends on who you talk to. I mean, and we bumped into it, and it's very far in between, where some of these folks are still working, the CSRS. A lot of them are retired now. But the kicker with these folks is they had the option where they could retire the last day of the month or the first 3 days of the following month. That's not how it works with FERS. So again, let's walk through that.
Correct. So the commencement date is always the first of the following month. So in this example, if you retired early in a month, your commencement date is the first of the following month, and then the payable date, or the annuity payment date, is the following month. So there can be close to that 2-month gap between retirement and payment.
Right.
Whereas if you retire the last day of the month, your commencement date is the first of the following month, so a day or a couple days later, and then payment still on the first of the following month from there.
Right. So the kicker, last day of the month, right? Make it real simple. So okay, we got through that. Now let's keep moving. Let's talk about how we. I mean, it's real simple math in terms of how you figure out how much you're going to get in terms of an annuity. So the way it works is, and I think a lot of you are familiar with the high 3, right? The high 3 is the top 36 consecutive months of pay. Okay, what counts? Locality pay, special rates, those things that count. But what doesn't include in the high 3 is going to be your overtime, the awards, the bonuses, those sort of things. So the high 3 is usually the last 3 years of your career, usually for people. But the thing is, you can't. It's a gliding ruler. You can't snap it and say, "Hey, I made money here and this year and this year." That's not how it works. It's 36 consecutive months.
There can be a time period in there you took a new job or got a pay raise in April or something, we'll say middle of the year. You only have to work the middle of 3 years later, not filling out a full calendar year.
So what they do is they take, now there's different provisions here, but they take your high 3 times 1% gives us a number. You take that number times your years of service. Voila, there is your annuity. Now, there's also the enhancement benefit, which we'll talk about. That's a special retirement supplement. But Tommy, we also have folks that are special provision that they get a different calculation method.
Right, and they define those as people in jobs who may have a higher level of physical or mental stress. Examples being air traffic control, firefighters, law enforcement officers, Capitol Police,
right,
that have that higher level of physical or mental stress.
So not everybody's treated the same. It just depends on the line of work that you're doing. So let's give folks an example here, Tommy. So why don't we go through a 58-year-old that is looking at retiring with 30 years of service. Let's go through that.
58-year-old met his minimum retirement age. High 3 is $80,000 times 1%. That's $800 times 30 years of service. Gets him $24,000 annually, $2,000 a month.
You also get a COLA on that too. Cost of living adjustment.
Payment for life.
But here's the deal. You don't get a COLA on what we're about to talk about, which is the special retirement supplement. So the special retirement supplement, you know, what I hear from a lot of our clients that are federal employees, they call it a bridge. And I get it. So it's a bridge and it lasts for so long. But the way they figure it is they take your years of service divided by 40. So for example, in this example that you just gave, so they have 30 years of service divided by 40, that's 75%. 75% of what? 75% of your age 62 Social Security. Tommy, let's talk about that.
And depending when you retire, that stops at age 62 when you are eligible for Social Security.
I'm glad you said
so
that.
It does not continue, but it is that bridge from minimum retirement age or when you decide to retire to when you are eligible for Social Security, not when you file.
And that's exactly. I'm glad you said that. And also, there's no cost of living adjustment on there too. Okay, so just something to know, folks. It's just a nice bridge to get people moving forward. So in this example, let's just say that they have a $2,000 Social Security benefit at age 62. So they take 30 divided by 40 gives us 75%. 75% of the $2,000. $1,500 is what they're going to get on top of their FERS annuity. Not bad. And after that, Tommy, I mean, we'll talk about this here in a minute, but what do you do with Social Security? That's the next question. So, okay, so this is for people that are retiring potentially before age 62. So, but what if they wait? Let's talk about that.
So we just talked about the special retirement supplement. So those individuals who don't take it, they wait until age 62, get a 10% increase. So in the calculation, they get 1.1% of their high 3 rather than that 1%.
Right, so here's an example there. So let's say we got a 62-year-old with 30 years of service. Their high 3 is 80,000. So they take the high 3, 80,000 times 1.1%. So now they're at 880 times their years of service. There's a $26,400 annuity or $2,200 a month, so a $200 increase compared to the 58-year-old.
Right, and it's definitely something to consider for those who are maybe close to 62, those who want to be done at minimum retirement age. It may not be enough, but somewhere in there, it may be an incentive to last maybe another year or two to get that increase.
We did touch on sick time. I thought this was kind of fun to walk through because in the past it wasn't where you were able to use that sick time and apply that towards your years of service. That happened in 2014, but Tommy, before that, it just wasn't applied, right? Then in 2013, they came in and said, hey, we'll allow you to use 50% of your sick leave towards your years of service. But I thought it was kind of funny because a year later, they made it 100%. I wonder what was going on.
I mean, we don't know the official reason, but if you're going to lose something, there may be an incentive to use it. Sick time can add up. It became a substantial amount of time in there.
Yep. So, and again, remember, years and months count, days do not. Okay, let's keep moving. So we also have survivorship options that people would need to pick. Now, again, they don't have to pick this until they're about ready to retire. When should you do this? I mean, I encourage people to do it, 3 to 6 months in advance to prepare for retirement. And these are the options you have to pick. So, Tommy, let's go through the three survivorship options in terms of what a federal employee would like to leave to their loved one.
Right. For married couples are looking to leave, maybe a benefit there. You have the option of an unreduced annuity. So that is paid for a single life, the employee's single life. They have the option of a 25% survivorship, costs 5% of their FERS annuity benefit. And they also have an option of a 50% survivorship that costs 10% of the FERS annuity amount.
Right, so there is a cost there in order to have it, but one thing that I want to hit on is, this is me talking, my opinion, I really love their FEHB, which is their health insurance plans that they are allowed to take into retirement with them. Beware, if you have a spouse and you choose an unreduced annuity and your spouse is on your FEHB plan, right? If you pass away, not only do they lose your annuity, they also lost health insurance. That is huge compared to where if you choose a 25 or 50% survivor, your spouse, your loved one will be able to keep the FEHB.
It's definitely something to consider.
It's definitely something to consider. Okay, let's keep going. There's a lot to go through. Okay, so let's talk about somebody maybe wants to retire early. Let's just do that real quick. So you can do it. So as long as you're minimum retirement age and 10 years of service, you can retire. But Tommy, what are they going to do to you if you go down this route?
Yeah, you will get a reduced pension, reduction of 5% for every year prior to age 62. So whatever your annuity calculation is, you retire at 58, you lose 20% of that annuity amount.
Is it permanent?
20% reduction. It is permanent.
It's permanent.
It is
It's
very
permanent. Beware of that. So folks, one thing to do is this. If you're considering leaving jobs or doing something different, consider this. Maybe consider postponing and suspending your benefits, meaning putting it on the shelf and coming back for it later. You can do that. Instead of just going and retiring, make sure you use the proper verbiage when you are making those decisions, and that is why we're doing this show. We are strictly just talking about federal benefits. So, Tommy, it's a three-part retirement system. We just got through one.
I feel like we're a long ways in.
We are a long ways in. Well, make sure you stay with us. We got a lot more to go through right after the break.
Do you have questions about your retirement plan, or do you want to know if you are on the right track? We are here to help. Simply go to retirevivid.com or call the number below to schedule a 15-minute retirement review. You can speak with us about taxes, Social Security, your 401k, or any quick retirement questions at no cost to you. We are here to make retirement vivid. Schedule your 15-minute retirement review today.
Welcome back. So we just covered a lot when it came to the first tier of your retirement system. And so, Tommy, this is also why we offer that analysis in terms of helping people determine, hey, when can I retire? What does this look like? And also, how do I save money in taxes?
Right. And, we spend a lot of time on that FERS annuity. It's a great benefit, but it becomes one piece of that retirement picture. So how does everything fit together?
So we just talked about the first tier. Let's move on to the next. We are now going to move on to Social Security. And so, Tommy, with Social Security, the question is when do I take it? When is the best time for me? But there's things that people need to think about.
Comparing it to that FERS annuity, you had a minimum retirement age. Social Security has a full retirement age, typically between 66 and 67. Depending when that full retirement age, you are eligible at 62, you get a reduction to that benefit. And then prior to full retirement age, there's an earnings test for earned income. So a lot of pieces to be aware of, but the Social Security decision is separate from that FERS annuity, but figuring out how they all fit together.
Right, and then sometimes people get confused. I've seen it, and that's okay. That's why we're doing this show. You have your FERS annuity and you get the Social Security benefit. You get both, right? As long as you qualify. But here's the things I want to know with Social Security. I want to know your lifetime benefit. Not just what the benefit is today, because are you married, right? Who has a higher benefit? Because when we lose a spouse, the lower benefit goes away. The next thing I want to know, what's the break-even point? Meaning if you took your Social Security at 62 or you wait until 65, when do those numbers catch each other in terms of an age, right?
For your lifetime benefit.
Right, exactly. And then the last thing too, Tommy, we did an episode just on Social Security alone. I encourage everybody to tune into that. It is one of the best kept secrets when it comes to taxes.
Yeah, you get a wonderful tax preference to your Social Security benefit. And we're going to the thrift savings plan next, but figuring out how the annuity and the taxability of Social Security and any withdrawals coming from retirement accounts, figuring out how those work together and how you can be tax efficient with that Social Security benefit.
Absolutely. Because in that analysis that we offer people, we will help them determine that. And that makes sense for them and their family. So we'll take a look at the FERS annuity. We'll take a look at when you can retire, and then also when's the best time to take Social Security. Okay, Tier 2 of the retirement package, complete. Mark that off the list. Okay, we're going to move now to the thrift savings plan. I love the TSP. I mean, it's a great tool. It's really simple to follow. And really what it is, Tommy, it's a 401k and a government wrapper. I mean, that's what it is.
Yes, it's an employer-sponsored plan. The government provides a match, but it's very important that you contribute your 5% to get that full match into that employer-sponsored plan.
Absolutely, because I bumped into people, especially new hires that have entered the workforce with the federal government, and they're maybe doing 3%. You just mentioned it. What do you got to do to get the match?
5%.
5%. So folks, make sure you're doing 5% to your TSP. Now, there's a couple options you can pick in TSP. You can do the traditional TSP or the Roth TSP. Tommy, let's talk taxes for a minute in terms of those two avenues.
Yeah, so traditional TSP, it is the amount you contribute to that is a deduction against your income for the year in the year you make it. So you make the contribution, take a deduction, it grows tax-free and is 100% reportable as taxable income when you start taking distributions from it.
Right.
Comparing that to the Roth TSP, you do not get the deduction up front, it goes tax-free and comes out tax-free. So it's really important to determine where you're at in your income cycle, age, we're looking at annuity, Social Security, those pieces. Is that going to provide enough income? Are you going to be forced into taking those required minimum distributions from the traditional side of the TSP? And so a lot of evaluation in there.
Right, absolutely. Because, with that contribution that you can do, I mean, I'm a fan of both. But again, you can't put a blanket statement on this right now because we don't know their overall income tax in terms of where they're at. But what we want to know is when are taxes on sale for you? So maybe you're doing, but let's just say, I would love to see people do 15% in terms of a contribution. I know that's tough sometimes, but let's just say that you're at 10% today in terms of a contribution to TSP. Maybe do pre-tax there to get that tax deduction, but every year increase it by 1% and maybe consider doing Roth with that 1%. So maybe blend is where I'm getting at in terms of contributions.
Right, it just gives you flexibility down the road to be able to access, the taxable income on years where maybe you're in a lower tax bracket, or that tax-free piece, if there's a high income year,
Sure.
and you need to access it.
Sure.
Just flexibility.
Yep. I mean, that's why we do that report. I mean, we're looking for those things. So, because everybody's situation is different. Okay, so that's the contribution. So we want to make sure people are getting that match. But let's talk about the investment options inside of TSP. So we got the G, F, C, S, and I, right? We also got the life cycle funds, but I mean, it's still the same G, F, C, S, and I. So the question is what makes sense for them? And Tommy, risk tolerance does play a role here.
It's a matter of kind of where you're at in your savings cycle. If you're early, you probably have a higher risk tolerance. If you're nearing retirement, maybe you reduce it. Life cycle funds will, based on the target date you set, so if you estimate a target date out retiring in 2030 and you have the life cycle 2030, it will adjust the allocation across kind of the low risk funds to the aggressive funds. It will reduce the aggressiveness of that as you near retirement.
Right, because you'll see like the L 2030, the L 2040, the L 20, it just, that year is basically the year of retirement, right? And in terms of what you're trying to accomplish with your money. But it's still the same G, C, or G, F, C, S, and I. So, and we can dial into that in terms of what makes sense for people. Again, that's where we meet with people, right? In terms of what's the best option. You can do a blend of all of them. But we're talking about retirement when it comes to TSP, Tommy. So let's talk about how we utilize the TSP in terms of a retirement strategy.
One provision for those individuals who have hit that minimum retirement age prior to age 59 and a half. So typically, if you take assets out of the traditional or pre-tax account prior to age 59 and a half, you have a 10% penalty. But there is a rule of 55 out there that allows you to access the funds from the most recent employer you retired from prior to age 59 and a half without the 10% penalty. So in this example, you hit minimum retirement age at 57. You can access the TSP if that is the employer you just left without hitting the 10% penalty, kind of bridge until you're 59 and a half, and then you have full access to the funds.
I am really glad you said that, folks. I really hope you caught on to this because, again, the rule of 55. We've done this with people where you need to keep it in that TSP, especially if you're going to use it for income, because if you roll that out to a traditional IRA, you're subject to that 10% that penalty because we're not 59 and a half yet. So again, in terms of what you do with your money, it's important that you know your options. You can leave it in the TSP. You can roll it out of the TSP to a traditional IRA or a Roth. We want to keep apples and oranges and oranges. But also they had the TSP Modernization Act that was passed in 2017, which now gives federal employees more accessibility in terms of getting money from their hard-earned money here with the TSP.
Yeah, just more times per year and just more access to those funds.
Okay, so that's the TSP. Now let's move on to FEGLI and the FEHB. So Tommy, FEGLI is simply the life insurance program that's offered through the federal government.
Yeah, it's a good benefit you're eligible to take with you in retirement.
It can be for sure. I mean, it's cheap during employment, but the one thing is the cost associated with it down the road. So again, you got to make sure that you take a look at that. Also, your health situation as well too, if it makes sense to keep FEGLI. But again, with the life insurance program, there's different options. There's A, B, and C.
So option A allows you to purchase additional coverage. Option B allows you up to 5 times your annual pay. Option C provides an amount per spouse and child, and you're able to purchase up to 5 units of the amount per each spouse and child.
Yep. So again, it just depends on what makes sense for people. But the big one is the FEHB. This is the home run. This is your federal employee health benefit program. And the kicker here, Tommy, is this, and you know this. In order for you to take this into retirement, how long do you have to be on it for?
5 consecutive years.
Consecutive years. 5 consecutive years. The reason why I say it is because we had a couple that came in, and he has 28 years of service. We're going to get him retired. But then I asked the question, have you been on the plan for 5 consecutive years? Oh, I've been on it forever. Well, 5 consecutive. He said, well, no, I jumped on my wife's plan by that point in time. I said, how many years have you had it so far? 3. She's 10 years younger than him. He has to work 2 more years. He has to work 2 more years. That's why you talk to people that know what they're doing and that could help you walk you through your benefits.
There are a lot of things that you can, I guess, kind of do incorrectly or may not be aware of. And so it's very important to sit down and review all of your options and make sure you have good information.
And Tommy, that's why we offer that federal analysis report. I mean, because again, people are looking for help. They really are. I mean, because again, I get it. A job's a job. But wouldn't it be nice to know what retirement will look like in terms of the future? And not only that, but how do I get there? Because again, folks, you have some of the best retirement benefits that I've seen, in my opinion. How do you leverage it? And that's why we do what we do.
They have options not available to a typical private sector employee. And so it's very important to sit down and see which options and benefits you're able to take advantage of, especially with the minimum retirement age, eligibility to retire early. I think that's what everybody's kind of looking for.
Right. I mean, that's what people are wanting to know. When can I retire? What makes sense for me? And so we are here to help you get retirement ready, especially with your own retirement system, as you have a unique system within the federal government. Thank you again for watching. We'll catch you next time right here on Retire Vivid.
Cameron McCarty and Tommy Breitbach are investment advisor representatives of Vivid Wealth Management, a SEC-registered investment advisor located in Des Moines, Iowa. Investment advisory services are offered through Vivid Wealth Management, LLC. Insurance products and services are offered through Vivid Tax and Wealth Advisors, and individually licensed and appointed agents. Tax planning and preparation services are offered through Vivid Tax Center, LLC. The preceding entities are affiliated. Information presented is for educational purposes only and does not intend to make an offer or solicitation for the sale or purchase of any specific securities, investments, or investment strategies. Case studies and examples presented are hypothetical and used to demonstrate a concept. These studies do not represent actual clients or results. Similar or even positive results cannot be guaranteed. None of the entities above are affiliated or endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any government agency. Information expressed does not take into account your specific situation or objectives and is not intended to provide investment, tax, or legal advice. Listeners are encouraged to seek advice from a qualified tax, legal, or investment advisor to determine whether any information presented may be suitable for their specific situation. Past performance is not indicative of future performance. Investments involve risk and, unless otherwise stated, are not guaranteed.